Hello everyone, it's just Jeffrey joining you for another episode of Historic New Jersey, and today we're bringing you to the Museum of Early Trades and Crafts in Madison.
Exhibits in our lower level are all about the local community of Madison and the surrounding area, pre-industrial revolution, when New Jersey was very much an agricultural and a rural and a small town, lots of small communities. So this is looking at a couple of the different trades that you might have found on the main street in Madison. We have a couple that are also specifically local. Caleb Burrows, we have a portrait of him. He was a cabinet maker. His name lives on in the funeral home that's still here in New Jersey. And then you've got cabinet making tools. We've got some stuff on printing and printing press. This Washington printing press is on loan from us from the Madison Public Library and was used locally in the area as well. And then we've got some artifacts that are talking more about the lives of women in the area, specifically textile production and dairy production. It's just an excellent way of thinking about all of the things that were decorating people's homes, functional in people's homes, how they were being made, and how many tools and skills it took to make these objects come into being.
I'm very curious about the orb of, looks like water, isn't there? What was this used for?
So this is an illuminating globe. It allows water and light reflection to be put to use. So it would make candlelight seem brighter and a little bit bigger when used for helping with close-up work for shoemaking, maybe blacksmithing, kind of a way of getting more light and more magnification in your work area. So this has a really nice America's 250th connection. This is an axe attributed to the blacksmith Luke Miller. We also have a portrait of him just above the axe. Luke Miller was a local blacksmith. His house still stands on Ridgedale Avenue, just a couple blocks away, and it's a really nice local, very visible connection of the role that this area of New Jersey played in the American Revolution. So New Jersey was a center for distilling and cider making using apples from the local orchards, sometimes known as Jersey Lightning. It shows up in some of Washington's writings about the area. And of course, cider and spirits had to be transported in something, and that's where the barrel making came in, which was a highly regulated trade. You wanted to make sure that the goods you were buying the amounts that you were expecting to get. So there's all sorts of sizes of barrels and different ways that the quantity and capacity of them was measured. So this is the Tuttle Oak. This is a tree that was on Prospect Street in Madison, which is one of the long-term roads in the town. And it was really kind of in the middle of the street, and they liked the tree so much, they found the tree so inspiring that they kept the tree and built the road to go around the tree. But it was a small road, and there were more and more cars. So in 1996, a truck actually hit the tree and damaged it to the point where it needed to be cut down. But the wood was saved. It was made into commemorative bowls and other display pieces, and we have a slice of the log here. And students from Madison High School went through and started dating the rings. So we've got a variety of different points measuring different years, including about the time this building was built. So You Say You Want a Revolution is METC's 250th exhibit, celebrating, commemorating, remembering the American Revolution. And it really looks at the life of New Jerseyans and how they were affected by the war in their backyards, whether they were in the army or working at home or supplying troops behind the scenes. It's really looking at all the different ways that the war affected life and how the revolution, once it was over, also continued to affect the United States, and how some of the ideals and thinking behind democracy and freedom for all have continued to reverberate around the nation.
And some of the artifacts in here have links to our first president.
So we have a wide variety of surveying tools, which was George Washington's trade in the colonies. We have artifacts used by Patriot soldiers that might have been carried on their person. We have a window on loan to us from the Madison Historical Society in the Luke Miller house. That's a original window frame from that house that soldiers would have passed by, George Washington would have passed by during their time here.
One of the things that we had a nice little conversation about is I had thought that I had spied an inkwell, and you had told me that it was...
It's a bloodletting cup, so early medicine, pre-modern medicine often relied on letting, and when you do have blood being removed from one's body, it's good to be able to catch it in something. So we've got all sorts of interesting objects on display, from some that might seem more familiar to people to ones that are really more unusual to see today. This exhibit is largely made up of objects in METC's permanent collection. We do have a couple of projectile points that are on loan to us, as well as the Luke Miller window, but overall, these are all artifacts from our collection. The original founders of the museum were Edgar Land and Agnes Law Land. They were school teachers in the area who collected artifacts of daily life in New Jersey. About 8,000 of the objects that make up our collection came from them when they started the museum in 1970. So the vault, we're not really sure why it's in the building. It is original to the building. Other libraries of the era also have safes. It may have been used as a place to store more valuable books, particularly in case of fires. But we have turned it into a wonderful small exhibit space. This year we're having it be a pop-up exhibits for a lot of different small 250 themed exhibits.
We've looked at so many wonderful artifacts, and we've been to so many of your wonderful exhibition spaces here, but the museum itself is absolutely beautiful, absolutely stunning, and just looking at it, it tells a story. So can you tell us something about the wonderful architecture here?
So METC is housed in Madison's first public library building. It was built in 1899 and was funded by a philanthropist, D. Willis James, who wanted it to be a gift to Madison and to make it a gorgeous, very fine building. It was of the era where learning was seen as a respite from the outside world. So you get some religious kind of iconography with the stained glass windows of knowledge and education and philosophy quotes. And then it's just also a stunning building, limestone and granite exterior, brick walls, painted brickwork, lots of ornate woodwork and metalwork throughout. And we've really tried to, as the museum has been the caretaker of the building, tried to keep the historical significance of all the walls and the building itself and pair it nicely with all our exhibits. In working the land, we have the bookcase stacks that were made up the original library stacks. Our exhibits interwoven between those. It's our latest permanent exhibit and opened in 2019, and it looks at how people worked and lived seasonally in pre-industrial New Jersey, and how the way that they lived and the experiences they had was still changed by changes in technology as the Industrial Revolution was starting to come upon them. So we have things talking about the seasons of spring, summer, winter, and fall, what was happening during those times, and how are people working and living. And it's all winding throughout the stacks of the library. This section of the library was the only place where books were actually stored back when it was an open library, and we've taken those stacks and worked our exhibit into it.
So everything that we've viewed today, that is just the tip of the iceberg, because as we discussed, museums typically view or show 3 to 5% of their collections, and that's what brings us here to the viewable storage space.
Yep, our viewable storage facility holds about 5,000 artifacts of our around 9,000 artifact collection. It was opened in December of 2024 and was the result of a multi-year, multi-grant construction project. We actually took this space all the way down to the dirt floors and the brick walls of the building and rebuilt it up from there. It now meets National Archive standards. We have closed cabinetry, mobile cabinetry, and it's able to safely store the large bulk of our collection.
I would like to thank Deputy Director Elizabeth Quay for this amazing tour of the Museum of Early Trades and Crafts. Elizabeth, thank you again, and I hope you have us back for part 2.
Sounds like a great idea.
So we will see everybody for our next episode of Historic New Jersey.